Randall Hughes with GodGlorified.com, and we're commenting on our today's scripture reading for November the 25th, in which we've read from the book of James. In chapter 1, verse 5, he says, "If any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." I've always prayed for wisdom, it feels like, all my life, and I'm not saying that if God has or hasn't answered that. I know that I still need more wisdom, But there was a point that I read across a verse in Proverbs that struck me and changed my request, because it said, "He that winneth souls is wise." And while I want wisdom, I desire wisdom. I desire more than just to be smart and to be capable. But somehow I believe and trust God to help me to have wisdom that will make a difference in souls' eternity for salvation. And so I want that. It's my desire to win souls. And James speaks of that. And so to ask in faith, and to be hearers of the word, or doers of the word, not hearers only, which points us back to the parable of the building on the rock versus building on the sand from the Sermon on the Mount. We want to make sure that our efforts are not in vain. James ends his chapter 1 with the statement that if any man among you seems to be religious and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. God's Spirit is going to make a change in you, and it will be reflective, and it will come out your mouth or not come out. And James talks about that more in chapters 3, about the tongue being a small member but boasteth great things, and it can't send forth sweet water and bitter at the same place. So we want to have sweet flowing from our being. And James was written the first writing, not a gospel, and yet he writes in verse 17 of chapter 2 that faith being alone without works is alone, it is dead. Chapter 2 verse 24, how that faith by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. The only two passages in the New Testament to use the word faith only and faith alone are in the negative. And so this was the context in the first century, that it wasn't about I have to work to be saved. We are not saved by works, but that doesn't mean it's without effort on our part. I associate the effort much like cashing a check, signing, endorsing, and showing ID. And so that is, it's getting it applied to my life, the work that God did, that Christ did at Calvary. And so we want to make sure that we get that associated with our lives. And again, at the end in chapter 5, he said, "Let your yea be yea and your nay, nay," to please God.